RITC Cybersecurity, empowering businesses with robust cybersecurity protection.
Welcome to the Cyber Reality Podcast from RITC Cybersecurity, small business partner and proactive cybersecurity. I am Mike Rotundo here with my co-host Mari Cherry, where we unravel the mysteries of cybersecurity one bite at a time. From digital heists to hacker exploits, we uncover online threats and the strategies to stay ahead. Whether you're an IT pro, business owner, or just safeguarding your personal stuff, this is your guide to the cyber world. Today, we're going to go through some cybersecurity news and discuss HIPAA. And with that, Mari, I want you to take us into the news.
Okay. Hidden threat in your stack. First off, Mike.
Yes.
For our listeners at home, what is a stack?
Oh, it's your tech stack. It's basically it's your infrastructure, it's your technology. So.
Okay. All right. The hidden threat in your stack, why non-human identity, or NHIs, as they will heretofore be known as.
He knows.
Okay. The management is the next cybersecurity frontier. This says that in some enterprises, NHIs now outnumber human identities by as much as 50 to 1.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You think so? You don't think that number's inflated a little bit?
No, I don't think so.
Really? Okay, because I was all I could think about was the number of emails people have, not me, that are unused.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Can that be the same thing? Like different accounts of a non-human identity?
No. The non-human identity would be like API logins. It would be like service account logins. It would be like your API, your keys, the son of stuff. That's what a non-human entity is, or identity is.
Right, but you don't think that? I mean, you don't think that there's some out there that are just not being used?
Oh, I'm sure there's a ton that aren't being used. Oh, I didn't catch that's where you're going. Yeah, no, 100%. There's a ton that aren't being used, and that's part of the problem, is that they're not being cleaned up properly. They're not being documented properly. They're not being decommissioned properly. They're not being deployed properly with using change management, so there's no record of them. So, 100%.
Okay.
This reminds me, go to the Wayback Machine for a minute, back when service accounts were, and they're still being used. But, now you have, Microsoft's, what are their DMSAs or whatever they're called now. But service accounts used to be out there, and those used to be hijackable too. And then you went to the non-human interactive ones, and then that was, probably the start of your non-human identities. So.
Okay. They also listed 3 challenges in this article. Would you agree with those 3 challenges that they listed in here?
Could you rattle them off for our audience?
Sure. Gaining visibility. The biggest hurdle in trying to secure and manage NHIs is actually finding them. 2, risk prioritization and reduction.
Right.
So that would be prioritizing the risks associated with the NHIs in the environment. And then, kind of like you just said, establishing governance. With so many NHIs being created today, governance has become a real thorn in the side for CISOs. So
yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to, decommissioning is a big thing, and change management is a big thing, and we have to make sure those things are tracked properly. Otherwise, that's how you have these loose things out there, and that's really what the hackers are doing now, is they're just finding things that people didn't clean up.
Yeah. Okay.
This is just a new flavor of it. It's non-human identities.
Lucky.
Yeah.
So that kind of ties in a little bit to the next article too. Then,
yeah,
I would think this one was from the Hacker News. Researcher found flaw to discover phone numbers linked to any Google account, which you can add your phone number, and they will either for MFA even. Does that?
Well, that's why we advise against using SMS as MFA.
Okay. All right. So The issue, according to Singaporean security researcher Brute leverages an issue in the company's account recovery feature. So circumventing the CAPTCHA-based rate limit ultimately made it possible to try out all permutations or unscramble of permutations or unscramble of a Google account's phone number in a short space of time. I think this said within like
5 seconds, I think.
Yeah. So what are some of your reasons why you tell people not to use your phone number? They listed a few, but I would like your.
Well, so that first one is, SMS, you can get SIM swapping, which is a big deal. And they talk about that in the article, but that's something we do. We have a phone security document that we provide our clients as well.
Mm-hmm.
That, and there's security things that you do at your provider, but SIM swapping is a very dangerous thing. And it was a big thing for a while because, I go back to clients that I've had that have been victim of that have lost millions because of it, because they didn't do things the proper way. So we definitely recommend to not do that for SMS. But, on another, if they're not going to even get into SIM swapping, at least if they've got your number, there's doxing, there's a way to get into your email, there's all sorts of things that can happen. And, those things need to be private. I think it really needs to be more mandatory that you have to use an authenticator app or a YubiKey or something like that instead of email, or SMS. But, SMS is still something that's going to be around. The misnomer about SMS is people think it's safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's something that probably maybe we need to bring up when we do talk about MFA, multi-factor authentication then, because I think a lot of people at home don't think about that.
No, I don't think they do.
Yeah.
SMS is just plain text communication. It's not encrypted.
Right.
No.
All right. Moving on. Microsoft.
My favorite.
Microsoft OneDrive file picker flaw grants apps full cloud access, even when uploading just one file.
Yeah. I can tell you, I'm so surprised that you were able to find that you're consistently able to find a Microsoft vulnerability every week.
I'm sure it just blows those brains out of your head that we find this all the time.
Yes.
Because they're your favorite.
Yes, they are. This is dangerous. But
Yes.
what I find disconcerting is that Microsoft says it doesn't rise to the level of something they need to fix because the user has to provide consent to do it. However,
to fix it.
No, it has to provide consent for them to upload.
Oh, I gotcha.
But
okay,
you still shouldn't expose the entire file, the structure of the drive. That's just, it shouldn't be that way. OneDrive should not. Microsoft is notorious for this, and this is a complete tangent, but if you ever try and ask what port is available for Active Directory, they tell you want the top 20,000 ports on a server have to be open for Active Directory. At least that's the way it used to be.
Whoa.
And so, it's like, well, why can't you limit it to 10 ports so we can secure it? It's like, 20,000.
Well, that's a huge jump. Okay, so why not? Why do they give a reason?
Never gotten an answer.
Never gotten an answer, and they give no.
Because we're Microsoft is probably the answer.
Because we can.
Yeah.
Because I win.
Yeah. Because you own a Windows server. What are you going to do about it?
Okay. All right. Yeah. I guess you signed the paper. You bought it. You're signing the release or whatever.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is. That's pretty scary. When you think about it, because that's something that people just trust intrinsically, and.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
So this is another reason why you suggest clients and other people use Apple products.
Yeah, but if you're going to use a cloud, 365 is everywhere. Google is safer in my opinion. But Microsoft is there, and a lot of people use it. I just have to take the proper precautions, and people need to know. But there's always these continual things that Microsoft doesn't do, and it just comes down to anything they make. It's not even a convenience thing that they're doing. It's just simply sloppy. I don't know any other way of doing it. And the fact that they say, well, we're not really going to fix it because the user knows what they're doing. It's like, no, they don't.
Right.
They're not expecting this.
Yeah. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad. Okay. From infection to access, a 24-hour timeline of modern Stealer campaign.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what a Stealer campaign is?
It's where they're stealing credentials, and this one is actually stealing open sessions. So it's kind of like a man-in-the-middle attack.
Okay. And it's all I think of like is like gaming though. So I'm trying to make it make sense in my brain. Is this like an actual thing? They call it a Stealer campaign. That's just how it's known.
It's like Stealer stuff. Yeah, because the whole idea is to steal an active session and be able to replay it. So you don't have to brute force a password. You've got an active session that you can literally use because and that bypasses MFA because you've already got the established credentials and you have to
because it's live.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because you're in there. Yeah, because it says they're no longer just stealing passwords in 2025. It steals live sessions and attackers are moving faster and more efficiently than ever. And that's why, because it is a live session.
Right.
That's not scary.
Because then they don't have to go through the login. You're already in. So
yeah. And this can happen in under an hour, they say.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So pretty scary stuff.
Yeah. I don't love that.
No. Nobody does.
No, that's for sure.
It comes down to where you are and where you're going, and what do you a lot of things. It's are you downloading crack software? Or where are you that you're available for that? Probably not logging into CNN or Fox News or something like that. You're going to get nailed, but logging into iLikePorn.com.
What?
Yeah.
This also mentioned fake updates.
Yeah.
So that I don't know if that's something we've talked about
Probably
already on here. I don't think so. It doesn't. So how would someone spot that? Because that's something we say you should do. But how do you spot a fake update?
Well, so what it is you go to a website or something that says, in order for our website to work properly, you have to click this update and make it work. And this used to happen with Flash all the time. So people won't think, and they'll just go, okay, well, I'll just update it. Well, in actuality, you're just downloading malware.
Oh,
So that's what's happening. So, I mean, think about it. It's not everybody knows as much about cybersecurity as we do. Right. As people in this business, there's a lot of people out there that simply trust. This is a website I go to, so I trust what they're saying.
Right.
So
how do we help our millions of listeners at home? Like, how do we help them spot these things? I know we've talked about fly phishing a lot, and I think that's becoming more common. More people are aware of that. But yeah, like this cracked software or fake updates. How do we help people recognize those things?
Well, it goes back to, we've talked about fake extensions and all that kind of stuff. And it goes down to, don't click on things you don't know you need. And if a website says you need to do this to install it, then go to whatever the name of the software is and make sure it's an actual real thing. You can't trust on the internet too much. You really can't. And so people are out there to hurt you and steal your stuff, and that's just what it is. That's the ecosystem you are entering, regardless of how innocent something is you think you're going to. So don't click on things. When something flashes on the screen saying you must update this, chances are it's not. It's probably adware.
Yeah, I think one thing, the internet has been so convenient and made things so easy that it's like we get to this point where it's like, oh, I have to take at least one more step. I don't love that. It's supposed to be like ready and available for me here, but we're here to tell you.
Well, and then ChatGPT is coming, or the chat programs, AI programs are becoming like that because I've just went round and round with a customer who I was doing some consulting on for somebody else, for a partner of ours, and they challenged what I said. They looked it up in ChatGPT and said, no, this is what it means. I'm like, guys, that's not what it means. So there's a lot of...
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and
So
it
they
was
didn't.
something that was HIPAA related. So, yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about this a lot, ChatGPT and other AI services.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely useful for so many things.
Right.
But even the resources it pulls from, it's still just pulling stuff from the internet. So it could potentially have the right resource.
Right.
It could.
And it could not.
Exactly. So you can't just take it at face value.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because it's so convenient, and I think we get stuck in this, like, it's this new flashy new thing and it's supposed to be so great, and it can be, but we still have to take a couple extra steps. Just verify, like, just check a couple things.
Well, I think it would be helpful if ChatGPT actually gave you the source for it. Like, if it's going to HIPAA.gov and telling you this, then that's one thing. If it's going to Reddit,
it will, but you have to ask it to give you those sources. I believe so. Otherwise, it will just sort of pull things. Yeah, and sometimes you do get Reddit. Yeah. But I think if you have to be super specific. So if you're going to rely on it in that way, you have to be very specific. Because, like, I'll give you an example. I played around with it with even NIST things. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many times it's given me the wrong controls or sub controls. And so I've tried asking it multiple different ways. And it's like, by the time you figure out its workarounds and how many different ways or all the words you have to put in there to make sure you get the correct information, it would have been easier to just go to the website. Does that make sense? Yeah. So for some things, I think it's really great and it can be extremely useful. Mm-hmm. But other things,
right?
It's just not. Maybe it'll be there someday, eventually, but right now.
That's why people always ask about confirmation bias and all that kind of stuff with AI. And then, but yeah, I mean, it all depends on the source. It depends on the developer. It depends on all these other various things. And it's like, there's a reason you don't go to Wikipedia as an authoritative source, right?
No.
No.
No? Oh, no. Dang. Okay.
For some things, just to give you an idea of something, that's fine. But
sure.
Actually, my dad, who teaches, this is a total tangent, a master's level class for a college online, and one of the students wrote a paper and cited Wikipedia as a source. Dad wrote him back and said, no.
Not happening.
No. So, but no, I mean, but you really have to know what the source of the stuff is. But I mean, the reason that this other client brought me in, or a partner of ours brought us in, is because they were going around and around with this guy saying, no, this is actually the law because of, and it's like, well, I'm going to bring the guy in that's been doing HIPAA for 20 years or 10 or however long it is. And then we talked, and then we still went round and round for a good 15 minutes. And finally, I'm like, here's what it comes down to. You're going to take this risk, and we're not going to back you up. Right. HIPAA data is HIPAA data is HIPAA data is HIPAA data. It doesn't matter where it is or who's accessing it. They're still subject to HIPAA controls. Period. End of story. Right. It's not negotiable. Yeah. So.
Are reputable sources a thing? Is that a thing anymore?
I don't know anymore. But that's the problem, too, is I mean, we're kind of going off in the woods, but I think this is a good conversation to have. People are going to start using AI as an authoritative source when it isn't. Right.
It isn't. It can be an extremely useful tool, but you're right. It's not.
I kind of, it's like Yelp reviews of a restaurant, right?
Oh, okay. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So if it's got, 20 negative reviews and 1,000 positive reviews,
right?
Who's right?
Well, I mean, perception is a funny thing. Yeah. But if you look at it that way, you might. I mean, I'd give it a shot.
Well, typically it is, and it's like all subjective, right? It's
exactly.
Our mileage may vary depending on what you're. If you go in, you're a complete ass to the server. You're not going to get good service, right?
Right. Yeah. That's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Going back to some controls, though, HIPAA is a little more than just a framework. There are laws, and so that's
Yes.
a little more concrete.
Yes.
And we are going to talk about that today.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about HIPAA. HIPAA.
Yes. Yes. You spelled it correctly. Thank you.
I did today, this time. Sometimes I spell
in the
things
previous
right.
job, we won the deal because our competitor spelled HIPAA HIPPA.
No.
Yeah, and the guy's like, "You guys won. You know, your proposals were pretty similar, but you spelled HIPAA right." So,
Oh shoot! You know what? That reminds me. I had this old boss. She was pretty cool, but I remember one day this kid brought in a resume, and she was sitting at her desk reading it, and she hadn't held it up very long at all.
Yeah.
And she just put it down in the trash, and I was like, "No good, huh?" She was like, "No, there were too many misspelled words," and I was like, "Okay, that's fair." And it was like they were like not difficult words. I don't remember them now. This was a long time ago, but I was like, "Okay, that's fair. That's fine."
Yeah.
Yeah, straight to the trash.
Yeah. If you misspell the, you're probably not cut out for the job.
He.
Yeah. Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. We went off on a tangent there, but yeah,
It was a
okay.
good
HIPAA.
tangent.
It was a good tangent.
That should be left into the podcast.
Okay. So think of it like a privacy rule book for your health. Would you agree?
I'd agree with that.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
It can tell healthcare providers what they can and can't do with your information.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot do certain things with it, which some people I don't think know that. And it could be the other end of the spectrum. Some people think that there's certain things that they shouldn't be able to do, but they can do and whatever. But we're going to get into that. Okay. It gives you more control over who sees your medical records. And it helps prevent identity theft or misuse of your personal health details. Do you have anything else to add to that before we move on?
No, I think that's a fairly good overview. I do. I mean,
crushed it.
Yeah.
So it's not always just boring compliance stuff, even though, I mean, some people might think it is. I try really hard to make things exciting, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So anyway,
it's not there.
Yeah, sometimes. That's why we throw in these movie quotes. Let's keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's what keeps your most sensitive information safe, right? So if there's an actual law, I mean, sometimes there's breaches and there's just not much we can do about it. But then at least there's guidelines and there's fallbacks and other things.
Right.
There are things people can do if that happens to them. Okay, so can you give me an example of you can control who sees your information? What is it? What would an example of that be?
Are you talking about from a patient's perspective or from a business perspective?
Can you give me both?
I can.
That'd be great.
From a business perspective, it would be the ACLs in place that control the data controls and where it's stored and how it's stored, and is it encrypted, is it not encrypted, that kind of stuff. So you can control that based on least privilege and business need to know, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and for our listeners at home, what is an ACL?
And it's an access control list, Mari.
Okay, awesome. Access control list. ACL.
Yeah.
All right.
ACL. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And
okay,
then
most people.
From a user perspective, from a patient's perspective, you're always going to have to sign a document when you walk in, an authorization form that they can share it with your other doctors, or they can share it with, do they want to share it with your spouse or, your dog or whoever needs to have access to your.
Can we leave voicemail? Can we mail you things? Blah blah blah. Yeah. So where I was. Speaking of reputable sources, I didn't put it. But where I was looking, it said most people don't know they have the right to their medical records.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, or that they can say no to sharing certain details of their records.
Yeah.
So, would that be like within healthcare, or what would an example of that be?
So HIPAA is designed to protect the patient. So the patient should have those rights, know those rights in advance.
Right.
So if someone is not sharing that with you, that should be in that full disclosure. The problem is people don't read it. They just pistol whip it through and just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You probably actually should read through those things. And I know you can request a paper copy if you want to at least take it home and read it later, if you want to just get through the paperwork, because I know that can be frustrating to be, in a doctor's office trying to get through the paperwork, or if you do an online thing, checking in online, which would be more convenient. Even you could be at home, take the time to read through those things, because I know you have to check the box saying they gave me a copy or I know about it or whatever. Right. So maybe just read it. Just take a few minutes and just actually read it.
Yeah.
There are worse things to do.
Yes.
Oh, that's for sure.
The problem is also that a lot of people aren't going to understand it, right? So.
But what do you mean?
Well, they may look at this and go, all right, well, it's the misconception. They're like, all my doctors have all the information, because everybody believes there's this giant database of health information somewhere, which does not exist.
No.
So.
That's too bad. Oh, that reminds me of when I worked at the pharmacy even. So I live in a smaller town in the mountains, and there's bigger city in the desert a few hours away. And so we would have a lot of summer visitors, people who lived down there during the winter and they'd come up here during the summer, kind of trade off seasons, right? The pharmacy, it was so frustrating because they'd be like, well, I go to Walgreens or I go to Walmart down there. It's there. And I'm like, I understand that. I get that. And I know, but you still have to, we still have to transfer.
Right.
There still has to be a process. This is medical information. And I get that it's the same company, but it is different locations, and there's still a process and procedures that we have to follow to take all of your information from there and bring it here.
We don't have the right to that data unless you give us the right to that data. Right.
And it really wasn't that big of a deal, but it's funny how quickly it escalated to a big problem. And it's like, it's really okay. We just have to go through these few steps, but you got to be a little patient. You have to be.
Especially if they're older. Yeah.
Yep. That happened.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or you get someone impatient saying, just transfer it. Well, sir, or madam, I need to have your name here. Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to. Would love it to be that simple.
Obviously, there are mood stabilizers you're missing. And
yeah, let's get this taken care of so we can get you your medication.
Obviously, you need them.
That's funny. That would have gone over really well.
Really
well. Oh, that's funny. You know what? One of my favorite things was always was when it was like, I really need this medication now. Like, how quick can you get it to me? Because my dog is afraid of the thunderstorms. It was like a prescription for their dog.
Sure. Perfectly justifiable.
Right. Well, you know what? There are at least 30 people in front of them. You got to wait. But anyway.
But my dog is really important.
Right. I'm sure he was very important to them. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
These other 30 people's dogs are scared of the thunderstorm too, lady.
They do not need their insulin or their blood pressure medication. Exactly. My dog needs. Anyway. All right. Something else people may not know that could have some serious information in there that you probably don't want getting out is things like fitness trackers or period apps or DNA testing, which I did do a little digging into that I know there's been stuff about 23andMe lately, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
going on lately. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
Oh no, I mean they're not the first one that's had a problem with
For
the
sure.
DNA stuff being stolen. So
For sure.
yeah.
But anyway, that's something that people probably don't think about, because I didn't think about it, and I really didn't think about it until I was pulling this podcast together. I mean, there's not a whole lot of stuff I put on apps anyway. Now I'm really thinking the wheels are turning, and I'm like, what do I have?
Yeah.
But
people
anyway.
never think about the fitness tracker. They just think it's on my watch. No.
Right. Okay. So I did look up what was going on with 23andMe, and then there's pharmaceutical that is wanting it's buying it. This was a couple days ago. I haven't checked today what is going on with it. So there might be something new. But as of just a couple days ago, this is what was going on.
Okay.
They say we are committed to protecting 23andMe and 23andMe data set with our high standards of data privacy. I said data and data.
That's fine.
Whatever.
It's the same thing. It's interchangeable.
Right.
It's
Tomato. I know, but why? I don't know. Anyway, so whatever that means. So whatever their, I guess, already standing framework or guidelines they have, I don't know if that's something that they're just going to sort of keep going with or not. They didn't specify. Go ahead.
Well, I would guess the pharmaceutical controls are probably a little more stringent than 23andMe's.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
When you know why a pharmaceutical company wants to buy them?
I don't know why. Do you?
Yeah, it's the genetic research. So they can go ahead and use it for testing drugs and that sort of thing. That's how they're going to look at genetics and human DNA testing to see what will work on certain people, what kind of different medications or what kind of different chemicals or what have you.
Okay, so that could be useful because I know, right? I mean, I know now you can have like certain blood work done to figure out like different types of medications that could work for you. They put it on this, like, I haven't seen it, but it's like a scale, and it's sort of like, as far as I know, there's like 3 different categories. Like this one would work best. This would be a good secondary, or a third option maybe. And they have like anyway.
Yeah.
So it would just
Mayo
further
Clinic
that
does
research.
that kind of research all the time, and so does Sonora Quest and a couple other places.
So this could potentially be pretty positive then.
It can be very positive for that. Pharmaceutical, they're looking for the research. They're trying to collect the research.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
But that does go back to something we say a lot about research.
It's hard.
It is hard. It is so hard. Sometimes I just pull up that ChatGPT and I'm like, just give me all the answers, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But that's the fear is people are going to get lazy and think that's what it is. And
I know.
not.
And listen, it's so useful in so many ways. It really is.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful. And you do actually have to do some of your own research.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's
You
good
really
for
do.
can you reword this paragraph?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
But-
or like if you just need ideas,
Yeah.
or I mean, I use it a lot for like kids, like ideas for my kids, or like organizational tips, or like whatever else. There are so many good things out there that it can be used for, or like jokes for my kids, or there's a whole list of things. Fun, silly, useful, whatever.
Yeah.
It can be incredibly helpful.
Right.
It can be. Just do some research on your own. It is hard, but it's the more you do it, the easier it'll be.
I think it's good with specific directed tasks, just like when people integrate it into like GitHub does, and it's like check this code, which is written in this for any.
Oh, okay.
That's good because it's a specific thing. But where you're asking for opinions,
yeah, that's when it gets tricky. And if you are going to do that, ask it to list the resources, and it will provide links. Follow them.
Yes.
Go to them.
Yes.
Read them.
Yeah.
So at least, okay, then that does make it one step easier for you. You can say, hey, provide me with the links for this topic or whatever. So that does make it easier for you. There you go. That's the way you can use it. But don't just trust what it says.
No, never. But we were talking about HIPAA.
We were talking about HIPAA. So don't just ask ChatGPT about HIPAA because it's not going to give you the correct answers. But
and don't ask ChatGPT for your medical records because probably hopefully doesn't have them.
I hope not. I really hope not. But speaking of, if there is a HIPAA breach affecting 500 people or more, it goes on the public wall of shame. That's a real thing. It is a real thing. I looked it up.
Yeah. It has to be reported to the Attorney General of the state, too.
I didn't know it was anyway. So there's a website you can go to, the Office of Civil Rights. So the website is ocrportal.hhs.gov. And it will show you all of those HIPAA breaches. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I think it's
really
awesome.
Funny. Yeah, really awesome. And it's made me chuckle a little bit. I think it's hilarious. It's called Public Wall of Shame. I mean, I don't think that's technically what it's called on the website, but that's what it's commonly referred to.
No, I'm sure it has
far as
some
I've seen.
bureaucratic name of, I don't want to offend anybody, but
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
If you know. Small businesses are required to be HIPAA compliant, just like large businesses. It's not just the hospital. It's not just the pharmacy. It's not just the pharmaceutical company. It's everybody. If HIPAA data is HIPAA data is HIPAA data, it doesn't matter who. If you own it, you own it. And you're, if your people are viewing it, you're responsible for taking care of it. You have to have the HIPAA controls in place.
Yeah.
Even if it's the HIPAA data on which you shouldn't really have, but the HIPAA data on all your employees, that gets breached. That's big time financial hit. And that's the other thing is that they're starting to take off the gloves on these breaches. And the FTC will go after you now and add a bunch of fines. And what did we do last year? What was it? The average breach cost was in America for a HIPAA data breach was like $8 million or something like that.
Yeah. I was thinking somewhere between 4 and 6, but you're probably right.
You might be right. I don't remember, but I think the average breach is 4 million, but healthcare was 8 million.
More. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot especially if you're a smaller company. Yikes.
That'll put you under.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So maybe if any of you out there are listening and want to avoid the wall of shame or losing your business completely.
Exactly.
Visit our website.
Yeah. Maybe set up a consultation.
That's a great idea. That's a really great idea. You should do that. Anyone listening, we can help you
as quickly as possible.
As quickly as possible. And
we won't use ChatGPT.
No. Oh, come on. No, we won't. But you will get to speak to both of us, probably.
Yes.
That's pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Pretty damn lucky.
That's worth being paid for just in and of itself. I mean, we aren't charging for the podcast yet, but when we hit that 100 million listener mark, we might have to start, charging like $1.
Well, I mean, I thought we already have hundreds of millions of listeners. We're being generous, and we're being generous.
Is it the billion mark that I'm thinking of?
I think it's a billion mark that you're thinking of.
Must be 1/7 of the population will be listening to us.
Yeah. Probably by Tuesday.
Yeah.
Of some year.
Some millennium.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I've pulled together for HIPAA. Do you have any last tidbits you'd like to throw in here?
The only thing I would really like to add is that it's a very, very serious thing. It's not something you have a duty not only to your employees but to your clients and customers and your patients that you have to take care of that data. I mean, everybody's out to make a buck. That's fine, and even if you're a charity, I mean, it'll destroy a charity. It'll destroy a lot of things. And one of the big things is not just the fines, but the reputational damage. It's huge, and you just don't want to take that risk. So you definitely have to take care of it. So HIPAA is definitely a serious thing and should be treated as such.
For sure.
Don't guess. And don't listen to ChatGPT on it. And don't listen to your, cousin-in-law's nephew who, is reading the CISSP book. Talk to a professional.
For sure. What is like the first few steps someone could expect if they did contact us and ask for guidance or help in that direction?
Well, we'd want to do an assessment of what they currently have in place, and then based on that, we would be able to give them direction on where to go with it, and how to protect it. And you can do that with as little. I mean, we sell blocks of time in 10 hours.
For sure.
You don't have to get us for a year. I mean, we'd prefer that you get us for a year, but if you just want to talk to somebody, you can buy a 10-hour block. You got, what did we say, 2 months to use it?
Yeah.
So,
we can cover quite a bit in that amount of time, I think.
Yeah, I totally can. It's an interesting thing that we have the ability to do, and it's something that we have a great deal of deep expertise in. So, but you don't need to go. I mean, a lot of people go out, well, I need a consultant from one of the big four. You're going to spend $50,000 for it. In reality, it's going to be, we can hook you up for not much. So it's inexpensive but high quality. It's cybersecurity for everybody.
Sure.
It's compliance for everybody. We're here to help you.
Yep.
So
that's a good place to end.
Yeah, I think so.
We're here to help you.
Yeah, we're here to help you. And now we're going to help ourselves, since we've done enough damage to our reputations and our brains and your ears. We're going to head to the bar. So, but thanks for listening. And everybody have a great day. And tell your friends and neighbors.